Hey, this is ASpengler, and today we have another vehicle build. It is the Panzer 38T, cool tank that I was wanting to build for a while now, and finally ended up building it. But before we go too far into this review, I did take some time lapses of the build, so go ahead, watch those, and get more into the vehicle. Okay, so coming back after the time lapse, you probably could notice right away that there's quite a few differences. That seems to be the trend on these vehicle videos. That's just because there's a lot of things over time as I look at the build after the initial process, after the first kind of draft, I guess you could call it. There's a lot of things that I feel don't really represent what the tank looks like. So there's a lot of chassis. The lower chassis is actually basically all the same. That didn't change much. The main changes came above the chassis, or all the road wheels and stuff. The back stayed fairly the same. This top area ended up changing towards the end. I didn't actually have this engine bit in the time lapse. Front stayed the same throughout the whole thing. These kind of side guards changed a little bit. Turret underwent heavy changes. The kind of main front of the tank, I shortened a little bit, added the gun, some other details, changed them up a little bit. But overall, the chassis is fairly similar. The turret had the most changes. I kept changing that over and over, finding little bits here and there that I didn't like. But overall, now I'm very satisfied with how it turned out. Out of the past couple custom tank builds, like the T26, T70, this one I think has turned out better than those two. I think I'd rank the T26 second, but so far I think this one looks a lot better and actually captures what the tank actually looked like a lot better, especially with the turret. I think the turret turned out really nice. So there is the Panzer 38T. Some quick facts about it. It was originally a Czechoslovakian tank before the country was annexed by the Germans. So after Germany took over Czechoslovakia, they captured these tanks and they saw how it was fairly ahead of its time. It was a pretty good tank for the late 1930s, so it was slightly better than the Panzer I and Panzer II. So they kept producing them and they put them into German service. Ended up being a fairly successful light tank for them. It was one of the more heavily produced German light tanks, and the chassis ended up being used on a variety of different tank destroyers, self-propelled guns and such. The more famous of them were the Martyr series of tank destroyers. The Martyr III, I believe, was the one that the Panzer 38 chassis was on. So interesting tank, interesting history behind it, because it's not like your standard German tank, which is like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 38T. That's because it is a Czech tank. So interesting things about that, and overall a nice looking tank. So I think I was able to capture it really well. I'm very happy with how it turned out, especially the turret again. That looks real good. So as far as plans for another vehicle build upcoming, since the Germans used this chassis for the Martyr III, I was thinking it would be very fitting to do the Martyr III next as a different upcoming tank build. So I could basically just take this chassis and then just edit the top portion to have the Martyr's anti-tank gun mounted to it. So that shouldn't be too difficult. I'll just replicate the chassis, and then all I would have to do is update the top. So not too difficult, and should be a fun build and turn out nice as well, just because it would be easy since we already have the base. Takes away a lot of the more strenuous details and stuff, so it shouldn't be too difficult. As far as some other upcoming builds, I'm still thinking about the BT7. I want to increase the amount of Russian tanks I have, so I've been looking at a lot of Russian tanks. So if anybody has any suggestions on a Russian tank they'd like to see, leave it down in the comments. I might end up building that tank. Also looking at some British tanks, other German tanks as well, and just all around all kinds of different vehicles. But definitely the Martyr III is an upcoming one, T7 or BT7, and maybe some armored vehicles and such. So with that, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.